Welcome to Salem United Methodist Church. We're located on Crattsville Road in Evansville, Indiana. Our Salem Moments is one of the ministries of our church. I am Pastor Honna, one of the associate pastors, and Reverend Boneth is our senior pastor. We have to be family. We want to be a family-oriented church that's serving God through serving the people in our community. Our scripture for today comes from the Gospel of Luke, the 6th chapter, verses 12 through 16. One of those days, Jesus went up to a mountainside to pray. He spent the night praying to God. When morning came, he called his disciples to him, and he chose 12 of them, who he designated as being his apostle. Simon, who he named Peter, his brother Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon, who was called the Zealot, Judas, son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. Last week we talked about Jesus calling his disciples. This isn't something he did just by seeing someone at random and asking them to be his disciple, but he was asking someone that he would also want to be his friend. Let's go back to the day when Jesus was alone, and perhaps lonely. Some say that loneliness is a universal human experience. Everyone, at one point or another in life, is lonely. And Jesus was not exempt from those feelings. Loneliness is that sense that you are totally on your own, that no one understands and no one cares, that there is no one to whom you can turn for help, and that you have to have everything taken care of by yourself. Loneliness sometimes comes in the midst of overwhelming problems, but it can also follow unprecedented successes. Loneliness can last for a minute, or it can last a lifetime. Jesus' time of loneliness came on that day that was full of success and criticism. He was teaching in the synagogue where he had grown up, so it was an honored occasion for him. No doubt his heart was pumping and he was excited about this opportunity. But there were critics in the congregation who confronted him and argued with him over a fine point of Jewish law. There was at the synagogue on that day a man whose right hand was disabled. And Jesus wanted to use his powers to heal that man. But his critics insisted that he had to wait until the next morning. Jesus believed it was the right thing to do on the Sabbath, so he decided to go ahead and heal him anyway. But his critics were so outraged that they conspired to hurt Jesus. Jesus needed to get away, so he went off by himself. In that Gospel of Luke that I read this morning, it says Jesus went up on the mountainside to pray, and he spent the night praying to God. We're not told the content of that all-night prayer, but from it we learn some lessons that we don't always understand. As a first resort, when Jesus was in the stress and in the midst of loneliness, he went to God the Father. It wasn't the last resort. We also learned that prayer should precede our problem solving, not follow it, and that walking away from a busy schedule and spending a night in prayer, or even an hour, can be the first and best strategy when life is hard. Like I said, we don't know what Jesus prayed about. We don't know what God said to him. But we do know what God did. And we can probably guess what God said. God might have told him, go, make some friends. If he was going to make his life count, if he was going to survive his critics, if he was going to help others, then Jesus shouldn't always be alone. He needed to make some friends. It was a father telling his son, go and make some friends. And later on in that scripture we read where he went and he called those disciples that he wanted to be his friend also. Choosing friends is not a safe thing to do. It can be a risky business. We tell our teenagers that. Watch who you choose as friends. We might choose a friend that really doesn't want to be our friend. We might choose a friend expecting to get a lot out of the relationship and realize that we've picked someone that drains far more energy from you. Friends can help, but friends can also hurt. There's always a risk that goes with friendship. But Jesus was ready and willing to take that risk, and so he selected a dozen friends. There's nothing magical about the number 12. It was the same number of the 12 sons of Jacob and the 12 tribes of Israel. But maybe it was 12, just because it was 12. Whatever the reason, whatever the number, it was an unusually large number of people. Most of us would be grateful to have a few good friends, and it would be extremely rare to have a dozen close friends. So if you don't have a friend, go out and make friends. Go out and be kind to others, and you'll be surprised at what kind of friendships you can restore. Well, that's it for today, and I am so thankful again that you joined us. And I pray that as you listen to these words today, that you receive something from them that you can use today, tomorrow, or in the days to come. Hope to see you next week. Goodbye.